Welcome to another episode of In the Keep podcast. I'm your very own prophet of the drowned god, the Motherlode. The show is all about the world of arena first-person shooters and the people who keep that world turning. These are players, these are streamers, the developers, the influencers. It is the will of the drowned god Cathala that our community bands together to worship her by fragging and giving one another into oblivion for all eternity in the arena. Alright, so today's guest is another cool motherfucker named Dots. He's yet another software developer. I think this whole fucking show is just going to turn into a software developer network or some shit like that. Doesn't matter. Dots is also a community leader over in OpenArena Competitive, and he's a member of the 9-inch Noobs clan, or NIN, kind of like 9 Inch Nails, that kind of deal. I don't know. It's cool. We cover some really cool topics. We talk about just in general, like what OpenArena is like, what it's like to be a competitive player, how he organizes his tournaments. They play intercontinental, like from Europe to America all the time, and they have some really cool in-house advancements that they've come up with themselves with their own community devs, and that's one of these that we're going to talk about pretty in depth is a thing called PROJECTILE DELAG, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Anyway, hope you enjoy this conversation. Dots, introduce yourself,
Hello.
please.
Hi, I'm Dots. I have work in software web hosting. So I work on a lot of Linux. I know a lot of Quake people are familiar with Linux. I live out here in Metro Detroit, and I've been playing first-person shooters now for about nearly 9-10 years.
And your main focus nowadays, I'm assuming, is OpenArena. And
my OpenArena has always been my main focus, though. It was the first one I've tried, and it's stuck with me ever since.
I think it's particularly interesting that you guys have like this. As far as I can tell, people can ask for an update in OpenArena and get one pretty quickly.
It's a yes and a no type of scenario. So with OpenArena, you have the base game that you download, like Quake 3, same deal.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as there's a lot of mods for OpenArena, and that are actively developed specifically for OpenArena. And if you ask the developers for it, there's a pretty good chance your feature or bug fixed for said mod, because mods are a big part of OpenArena gameplay.
And
I would say like 95% of the online servers run some form. While the basic game is designed to be Quake 3 compatible, kind of, is as close to Quake 3 as possible with a more modern code. The extra features that people want, from like Quake Live or Quake Champions, etc., are the OpenArena developers decide those are meant for mods to handle.
I think it's really cool, especially the way you guys do like set up the tournaments and everything. So you're playing mostly like CTF is what I'm seeing.
Yes, CTF is the bread and butter of OpenArena. It's always been the most popular. We do try the tournaments. We do try to mix it up, but CTF, like it's been tradition to have yearly CTF tournaments with all the various clans. But we're trying to expand that a little bit to Clan Arena, and Team Deathmatch, and Duel. It's getting there, but CTF is the bread and butter.
That's crazy. It's been around since what, 2005?
It's been around since IO Quake 3 was released, so it's close to that time frame.
Yeah, when I played the game, it feels essentially exactly like Quake 3. I actually played OpenArena yesterday, and then I just I'm curious, and I went back and played Quake 3 because I figured it is basically a copy, what's the word? A copycat, something like that. Anyway, but it's just exactly like Quake 3, but with support, and that's what I can't even believe that more people don't know about it and aren't trying it.
It's basically, I would call it a modern interpretation of Quake 3. There's a lot of quality of life features that make it better than Quake 3, like the DELAG hit scan for Quake 3 retail version doesn't have that. IO Quake 3 / OpenArena do. Then there's the automatic downloading feature. So people don't have to, for custom maps, for example, people don't have to go search the internet for them. If the server is configured properly, it'll handle it all for you. As long as you have automatic downloading in it.
And it just sounds like a wet dream in a lot of ways for a lot of people.
It makes it makes having the mod support much easier for the end user.
Yeah, and you can run the game on a potato essentially. Like I've seen people
absolutely.
in Android, Raspberry Pi, like
Yes.
Yep. So who are the main people like kind of developing the game?
So that's the main developer for OpenArena is Lilo. You can find her in the OpenArena Discord or from Hell on the OpenArena forums. There's a guy called Sago007. He does a lot of engine coding stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Lilo is the art direction and game code as well. There's another guy called Neon Knight. He does a lot of the maps for OA. Those are the main three, though. There's a lot of individual contributors, but the overall team, I would say, that's just based off what I observe. It seems like the team to me.
And I haven't personally done a lot of playing in the actual game. So the maps are they mostly original maps or
yes Quake, and no? There's a lot of tribute maps for Quake 1, 2, and Deathmatch, or Free For All, or Team Deathmatch. Made a lot of the CTF elimination are more original. It's a mixed bag of both, so you get the best of both worlds.
That's really awesome. I'm gonna need you or someone to like sit down and just kind of like coach me through, because I just got to get through the setup. I think I messaged you guys yesterday. It's like I'm struggling just to get it to like render correctly in the window, and that's a user error on my part, I'm sure, because I don't know jack shit. It's scary how much time I spend on a computer and don't know how to use one.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So what is your position within the OAC, or the OpenArena competitive?
So the OpenArena, to make it a little clear, the multiplayer community is a little separate from the main developers.
Right.
So we are not really involved in, the actual OpenArena development. We're just a bunch of, the OAC is OpenArena competitive. We're just a bunch of OpenArena players who've been playing for many years now. We enjoy more of the, competitive, serious games. So our goal is to organize more of those.
That's particularly of interest to me. Like, I actually stopped following the main Discord just because, like, that doesn't really apply to me. But the competitive side of it is kind of like a model for what I want Cathalis Keep to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are doing an excellent job of networking. Man, you got people from all over the world. You've got the European side, a North American side. I'm assuming you have.
We've always had a very diverse. Our community has always been small but diverse and consistent. Consistent is the key word. Small,
relatively speaking, to the kinds of Discord servers you see for this sort of thing in arena first-person shooter games. It's not that small. It's pretty,
I would say yes.
I
would say compared to other open source first-person shooters that are in the similar boat, that OpenArena is most popular. Maybe Urban Terror is more popular, but
you're kicking the shit out of Warsaw.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, Warsaw is like, I don't know. I would really like to get in contact with some of those guys again. I talked to a few people who run a pretty solid. I mean, like the number of people, or people in the Discord is impressive, but it's basically just I go in there, I post an event, and they're just trolling me and sending Rhino gifs, taking shits on my face and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I guess
a lot of us have tried the other games, Warsaw, Exotic, all the other ones, but they always come back here. For those of us that started at least here.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of that with people. There are people who are just loyal to a game in general. And it doesn't matter like if there's something better or not. There's going to be a lot of people that don't play Diabolical just because it's not Quake or whatever. But, I think people need to stay open, especially in your situation. It's just like it has everything you want. it's perfectly everything that a Quake 3, Quake Live guys ever wanted from a game is being actively community supported by you guys. Or not, when I say you guys, I mean all of OAC or OpenArena. But yeah, so do you play, I'm assuming, in the competitive scene?
Yes,
yourself?
I have been I've been involved in the community really since 2010. Everyone knows who I am. It doesn't matter where you're from or continent, etc. But yeah, competitively, I've been involved for many, many years now.
Yeah,
I've been involved in the same clan for nearly 10 years, for example.
For instance, I reached out originally to Meow, and he's like, no, you want to talk to Dots. So
Meow is actually an OA veteran too. He's been around. He was around longer than me.
So what clan is your clan?
So my clan is called NiN, NiN. It's 9-inch noobs. It has literally no meaning to it.
I thought it was cool. When I saw that one, I was like, okay, so yeah, it's Quake.
There's a lot of
9-inch nails. Trent Reznor.
We're now I would say, based off the other old clans that no longer exist, we are the oldest active clan in OpenArena. And there's others that have still been around, 5+ years, and then there's new ones that have been around for 2-3 years. And so it comes and goes, but it's still consistent.
It's essentially just like a CTF team, or you have multiple.
It's I would say primarily it's CTF, but it's all on the clan. So like Meow's clan, for example, is a lot of clan arena based, but they still do CTF too. It all depends on what the clan people like.
Yeah. So when you're organizing tournaments, for say a CTF game, I would assume I think I actually saw a post earlier, like you struggle just to get people's time frames to line up. If you're talking, 4 teams, 8 teams, or whatever, that's times 4, and then time zones and jobs and everything. Like, what is the biggest issue that you run into with that sort of thing?
Is consistent. Like I said before, we have a small but consistent player base, so that means it's hard to, if some like 5 people can't make it, for example, then there's a good chance an event might not happen. So the idea is just hard to get a consistent time frame that works for everyone, because we try to balance the time frame so it works for Americans and Europeans. But I would say that's the biggest hurdle, is just consistent signups. While we have a consistent player base, we just don't have the consistent signups.
Do you ever? I guess the first question is, when you set it up, is it like a, hey, we're doing it today, this time, that kind of thing? Or is it a series? Like, we just these 2 teams can get together?
It is structured more of like a series, a mixture of both. We have a specific, I guess, formula we stay with, where it's a main event one week, main being CTF or Clan Arena. And then the second week, we try to do duel or team deathmatch. And then the third week, back to the main. 4th week, back to the other. That's just to give, so nothing gets stale and boring, kind of.
That makes perfect sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So we've done clan wars before, like our keep against like Quake crew or something like that. And this is like mostly Quake champions type stuff. I know, whatever. But yeah, and we try to do it all in one day, and we're like, okay, we're gonna have duels, we're gonna have 2v2s, we're gonna have a CTF team.
It doesn't work in one day.
It can be a disaster. The last one we did went pretty well, but it's just, it's especially just hard to get everybody to agree on one time.
Yes,
I think that model is probably the way to go.
It's a growing challenge. We've had success, I would say more success than failures, but there's been a few times where we just had to cancel events due to lack of signups, or it's just the way it goes. Take it week by week.
So what was your, like, the first game like this? Was OA your first delve into this?
Back in 2008, late 2008, I was looking for free first-person shooters. And I stumbled upon, on Wikipedia, OpenArena. And
I have that page
found it from there.
Right here.
And I stuck with it from there. And I've tried, Quake Live, Quake 3, but it just doesn't appeal to me. And a big part of it is community.
Yeah.
Everyone here is, I don't want to say non-toxic, but for the most part, everyone gets along, has fun. There's not often bickering back and forth, but it's an overall enjoyable experience.
That's good. I think that's the most important thing with anything that you do, but especially in gaming, is that you have to have consistently people who are working towards the same interest.
Yeah,
it's terrible how often, and we've already discussed that with Warsaw, but like how often these things just turn into a shit show, and I can't support that. But the experience is not necessarily, you could play a shitty game with your best friend and it would be the best game you've ever played in your life.
Yep.
But if you play, I don't know, what's the best game in the world right now? Apex? I personally don't really like battle royale games, but I mean, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. It is a super beautiful, polished game.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah, it works great. Did I see you playing it recently?
Probably, maybe. I'm not big into much new games. I'll check them out, but
Yeah.
I just don't have the time as much.
Yeah, I'll let people. If someone says like, "Hey, I know you're mostly an AFPS guy, but you should really give this a shot." I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
But just generally speaking, the arena, the arena works for me. The battle royale thing. I've seen some games like Master Arena is working on an arena royale like arcade mode for their game, which I think could be interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that could be really interesting. If you want to read more, I have an article coming out with their dev soon.
Okay.
Plug. I think you really covered that whole topic. What made you want to search for like? What made you go online and say like, I want to find a free OpenArena?
I had a decent spec at the time laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And all my friends, they had Xboxes and PlayStations, and they were playing Call of Duty and all that. I didn't have that, so I wanted a shooter, not necessarily an arena shooter, but I just wanted a shooter that didn't cost money because I didn't have money at the time, and
I still don't.
And it just popped up I tried it out and just kept playing it. I actually played it for single player for a few months before I jumped into online play.
So up until that point,
I thought I was the best player in single player until I jumped online.
I had the exact same experience. So when you first play Quake Champions, they won't let you go online until you've played matches with bots to level up a certain amount. And I had not played Quake. I mean, I'd played Quake 3 before that. I'd never played this new game, and so I didn't realize that it was just bots. And I was sitting there like murking motherfuckers, and I took screenshots, and I was like, "Look at me, dude! It's my first time playing this game. I really must have got it. Like, I still got it from my Quake 3 days." And I sent it to all my friends, and then I realized that they're all bots. So, and then I get into the real game, and I'm like getting murdered. Oh, but yeah, like. So you at that point you hadn't played Doom or
nope, I never played, heard of it, or any of them.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean to be fair, I didn't really understand. I didn't know anything about PC games until
I didn't have PC gaming either. I had a Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
for the longest time.
That's going to be a running theme on our show. I asked Violent Heart the same question. Like, hey, what was your first game? He's like, Duck Hunt. I'm like, oh.
And then, so do you know Nintendo Power, the magazine that used to be? They had the weekly things you could enter in the contests. So I would mail them the little things in each month since it didn't cost anything. And I actually won first prize in one of their magazines. And that's how I got my GameCube and Game Boy Advance SP. Because otherwise I would have never had it.
That's the thing is that most people are too, like, they just assume you can't win things like that, especially like that and radio contests. Like magazine contests, radio contests. No one fucking enters them at all. So you have a huge chance of winning. I've seen this one guy just get every concert ticket you can imagine. All he does is call into radio shows all day. Yeah, I was listening to an interview with John Romero a couple of days ago that my friend sent me, and it was talking about essentially how they started to make the engines for these games, and I want to say he left the company before the EdTech 3 came out. I could be wrong here.
That's what I remember, something like that too.
And he did an excellent job though of kind of laying out what their process was for developing those games and how fast it would go for them because they were so super organized and taking that engine. I mean, they made up pretty much all of their stuff free now, and you guys are using the EdTech engine on OA.
Yes.
It runs freaking wonderfully. And the only issue that I've kind of run into, and again, this may be a user error on my part, is it's a little jumpy when you're steering around.
That's what I hear too. I personally have not experienced it, but I have heard the same thing from others. Maybe I just don't see it. But there are like IO Quake 3 is a client. OpenArena is the client for you download from the website. There are other OpenArena clients that address that. They're third party, user developed, but it's maybe something to look into. You're not the first person I've heard mention that.
Yeah, and the way that seems to work for them is So they developed the engine to be super easy for another person to interpret and build off of.
Yes, it's kind of like it's based off the IO Quake 3 code base. It's just not a complete clone.
Right.
Kind of. They do their own thing with it, but it's as far as, Quake 3 goes, if you want a free alternative version, it's as close as you're going to get, I would say.
Yeah, and I would think that helps a lot though with the turnaround time for you guys when you like, hey, can we get this added to the game? And I've seen the game is steered more and more towards almost like an anime thing and less.
That's the direction that they want to go with. So OpenArena 3 is technically going to be the next major update.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a big content reboot. So like the play style and everything will be the same. It's mostly maps, models, textures, etc. For example, one of the biggest complaints people have with the current OpenArena is that it's dark. You can't see the models that well.
Mm-hmm.
So one of their goals in OA3 is to make it, the models brighter, stand out more, easier to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I ran into that a bit, but I just turned the brightness up and I didn't have a problem anymore.
See, that's what the mods we have address, because we have bright skins on certain models.
And you have US servers up and running, but are they password protected, or can people just hop
No,
in with
we have US and US and European. They are not password protected for the most part. The only ones that are password protected are the ones for the actual events.
Yeah.
But there are public ones as well.
Okay, so what are the general names on the servers for people?
If you want to participate in, this is where the mods come into play, because different servers have different mods, and I think that's the distinction to make here. So if you connect to any of the VMU servers, VIHMU,
mm-hmm.
That's going to be running Aftershock. If you connect to any of the OpenArena CTF League, OAC CTL, that'll be running Aftershock. If you connect to any of the N servers, /N/, that'll be running a mod called Rat Mod. And if you connect to the servers called CTF for Stupids or CTF for Geniuses, that'll be running a mod called Fail Mod. Okay. The goals of the mod, the reason there's 3 separate mods is the goal that each developer has their own goal, basically. But the main one to talk about would be Aftershock, because Aftershock is what is used for the OAC events. So
what's special about Aftershock? Like, what makes it different?
So the big appeal to Aftershock is it's open source.
Mm-hmm.
Give the good example, Aftershock was originally in development in the early 2000s. It was meant to bring Quake Live features and everything to OpenArena. But the developers originally lost interest and stopped playing, so the code just sat dormant for a while. And now it's been picked up by Meow, and he has some people who work on it with them free time, and it's been picked back up again. And so it's basically picked up where it left off. The big appeal, though, if people are looking for a pro competitive features, the mods are where you're going to find them.
That's pretty much across the board, with the exception of like Quake Champions, because it's still being ran by Saber and Bethesda. But over time, most of these games end up being released, hey, do whatever you want with it at some point, and that'll be interesting.
So, yeah. So as far as mod features, though, there are some unique features that I don't know if other games have. So, for example, all 3 mods have a form of projectile DELAG enabled. So with us Americans, we usually play on European servers, and we usually have 100 plus pings.
Right.
But we can still use rockets and things like that because of the projectile DELAG.
That's true. I never even thought that was an option. That's incredible.
It's been something that's been around very recently, past maybe 2 or 3 years. And some mods have it better than others, but it's way better than not having it at all.
I watched, I want to say the most recent CTF tournament, just like the grand finals and stuff like that. And it seemed like the Europeans were absolutely destroying the US with just rails, like these crazy long range rails. And the Quake 3, Quake Live, OpenArena, all essentially the same in the rails, that you could hit a rail fairly easily as long as you could see your target. But if you're shooting at a ghost, whatever.
Yeah.
But so how do you guys compete with that? Like as a team, as a competitive player, what is your strategy for getting around this?
It all depends on the map. See, OpenArena maps are, if you're playing OpenArena maps, they are tend to be more open and action heavy. So even if we have high pings, we will try to stick to the lightning guns and the rails if we're on a European server.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though they're action heavy, they can't sneak around as easy because they're more open based. So it's really just a matter of putting people in the right positions. Even the less skilled players, they still listen to what we say, and they succeed because we set them up to succeed.
That's the best way, I think, to get someone to like learn the game is you just drop them in a team of way better people than them and just like force them to like, all right, you better fucking put your boots on, catch up. It's like doing a group run or something like that. When you're all like everybody has to run together, we're staying at the same pace. We'll run with we're the slowest guy, but eventually that slowest guy has to catch up, and they usually do.
Yes, I've known some people who've played casual deathmatch for years, and then they've started playing CTF with us, and they've just improved tenfold.
Yeah. Do you guys like recruit for the team, or is it sort of just like volunteer basis?
Yes and no. It's all on a per clan basis. I would say most part is when a new player comes along, they could either express interest, and no problem. Otherwise, I would say a lot of people, are kind of on the lookout, so to speak. And if they see someone, give them invites and things like that to get to know them.
And at this point, it's sort of an everybody knows everybody sort of community anyway. So
yes, at least for the competitive aspect of it, I would say at this point, everyone who plays at least has met everyone. We do have some new people who come along in the past few months, and they've stuck around. Public. Because I should mention public games too, because you can easily find public CTF going on most of the time. Same with Instagib and Deathmatch. And I would say they have pretty consistent, public player base too. And so everyone from that type of servers, they all know each other too. So it's small but consistent, and it's growing as well, just slowly. This is this current period of OpenArena. It's the most active it's been since the early 2010s. It's a bit of a revival.
I think that's probably the best you could ask for, really. So
yes,
when you do find a new player, right, and maybe they're a prospect for the team, do you train them like privately first? Is there like a regimen for that, or you just kind of throw them in?
Observe them to see what they can do first,
right?
Once we know, okay, they may have a good aim, but their strafing's a little weak, or maybe it's the opposite. Once we have a good idea, we would give recommendations on what they could do to improve, but ultimately it's up to them to do it. That comes back to the knowing their strengths and weaknesses, because whenever I recruit new players, I make sure I know their strengths so I can put them on where they'll succeed. I'll give them the opportunity to do what they want, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be.
We make recommendations based off that as well.
You got to be open to, because sometimes I've seen it happen where you get a new player that's coming from a different game or something like that, and maybe they suck at the game you're talking about, but they will oftentimes have some kind of like they'll be like, oh, I wonder if I can try this, and it'll be something that no one's ever even thought of doing in this game before. So in Cathalla's Keep, we don't really do like a team based thing, but what we will often do is have what we call a duel pool, and that will just be like 1v1s where there's a shitload of people in the server, and we just take turns and ruthlessly pick apart each other. Just every mistake that everyone makes, like, oh, shouldn't have done that, you motherfucker, and hopefully and all in good fun. We're not trying to hurt each other's feelings or anything, and that generally like it makes people so much more aware of their flaws, and it forces you to improve. I think that's a really good system. I need to sit in and just kind of watch you guys do your thing sometime. It'd be really fun.
Oh yeah. It's hitting the low point a little right now as far as clanic matches. Because we just had the CTF tournament. That's going to be wrapping up soon. So at this point, we'll still have the weekly events. But who knows? There may be a major tournament in the works in the coming month.
And do you have? Is there any kind of coverage? Because all I've really seen for OpenArena is
it's
just like
yes
YouTube clips.
and no. We did for the CTF tournament last year. We did have them streamed. Find them on YouTube and Twitch. The channel's called OpenArena Live. This year we don't. The person who did it last year is just not around as much to do it. And streaming the weekly OAC events, same idea, is just no one around to really do it. I've actually set up a stream where I can do it, but I can't play if I do it.
Yeah. That's what we've kind of talked about over on our side, is that we want to just have a dedicated team, like people who, maybe don't want to play super competitive, but do enjoy watching and calling matches and stuff like that. Because I think that the biggest thing for getting a game like this into the public eye is like it needs to look and feel as professional as possible when it's presented, and you don't see that at all. Some of the biggest games right now is in our genre, say Dusk even, like they have really great tournaments, but there's no like real coverage. So, or if it is covered, it looks like shit, and there's no one calling the action. You need someone to kind of coax you into the game a bit, and someone to talk you through it, explain what's going on and things like that. And you don't need that. I don't need that, but some people do. I personally really enjoy the casting aspect of eSports, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Cyber athletes. It sounds silly, but yeah, I think it's cool. And it's interesting to see how people respond to that sort of thing, because it's getting to a point now, especially in the bigger games like Counter-Strike and things like that. It's almost football.
Yep.
And in Korea, it's been football for a long time.
Yes, with StarCraft.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to kind of touch on, or plug, or just say to a new player that may potentially?
I actually, because I think so. Let's touch back to Aftershock. The mod there's actually a few other important. So I don't know if you're familiar with the old Quake 3 mod called Rocket Arena 3.
Oh yeah.
So there was a bunch of custom maps made specifically for it that had the different arenas. Well, very recently, Aftershock has its own implementation set up where the Rocket Arena 3 maps are playable again. So people who may have nostalgia for them at one point, it can be played on the modern engine game. And overall, the reception has been pretty positive because it's used primarily in Clan Arena. Mm-hmm. And everyone who currently plays them enjoys it. So that gives us a whole new map pool to work with, because I was told there's easily 100+ maps from that.
You could this is a huge failure of Bethesda right now. You can just absorb maps from everything that came before you. And I don't know why that's not obvious.
That's another big thing for OpenArena is, even though we have our OpenArena maps, all the Quake 3 maps is playable here too. And people like all the 3-wave map packs, for example, those are played pretty regularly in CTF. It's really anything that's compatible with Quake 3 is a good chance it's going to work.
Bethesda just dropped the fucking ball with CTF maps, and I don't understand why, because it's such a huge. They could literally just open it up to the community and say, like, make whatever you want, and within a week they'd have copies of like every amazing CTF map that everybody wants. It's so great that you guys are doing that. Just that alone, I think, is going to get a lot of people to just like, anyone that listens to this, they're like, huh? Oh wow, I could try that.
If anyone's looking for a Quake Alive, type of feel, OpenArena plus mods are going to give you as close as you're going to get outside of official stuff.
Yep.
I would say.
So the mouse sensitivity cap in the game is essentially exactly like Quake 3. So are you guys playing on like 400 DPI so you can have a little more wiggle room?
So I know those really long 3+ feet mouse pads. I know some people that have those. It varies. Some people use 4. There's some crazy people who use 1600. I use 800 DPI. It varies. But people play with what they like, and it works for them.
Yeah,
I know some people who use 150 FOV.
I'm a super low like sensitivity, like a hit scan weapon kind of guy, and I'm good with rockets too. But I use a little bit of mouse excel for that and rails and things like that. But
see, I used to defrag. For a few years, so I have a little bit of sensitivity on the high side, and it's very precise back and forth movements. So I don't like to change it because it's going to screw everything up.
As a recommendation to anyone new to arena shooters in general, so when we're talking about sensitivity for these older games, the cap is the lowest possible cap you can go is still not that low if you want to get really precise with aim. So a lot of players back then would play, you know, like they would, the standard was 400 DPI, and now most modern games switch to 8. I highly recommend, like, I have like a Zowie FK2 mouse where you can manually click on board to change it.
I have the similar one.
Yeah, so I play like Quake 3, or if I'm when I started trying to play OpenArena yesterday, I just manually clicked it down to 400 DPI and adjusted settings. Therefore, and then I'm easily able to, when I play a different game, click back up to 800 and get my movement back on track. But
yeah, I would. But yeah, if we've tried to give the a multiplayer community here has tried to give more of the pro competitive features for OpenArena. It's light, and that's what we do. We don't. While the base game is fun, the mods just enhance the experience tenfold.
That's going to be the biggest selling feature on this game.
And I can't describe the projectile DELAG enough. It's something you have to experience, because it's just it just makes it so much more enjoyable.
How does it work? So does it slow or speed down the rocket based on your ping or something?
No, it depends. So Aftershock, the mods modify, and Aftershock in general modify these values a little bit. So the damage, for example, Rail do 80. LG does 7, and things like that. They're not, because in OpenArena they do 100 Rail, 8 LG, which is overpowered. So that's part of the purpose of the mods, is to make it more balanced. Rocket speed is in Aftershock, it's 1,000 US. Default OpenArena, it's 900. It doesn't. It's hard to describe the DELAG. It's like you can shoot without the delay being per se. So like if you've played with 100 plus ping before and you fired rockets, you notice there's a delay. The projectile DELAG will compensate that for a little bit. In Aftershock, it only goes up to 150 milliseconds. So if your ping is below that, then you will notice when you fire a rocket, it's not full, waiting for it to fire. It fires like if you would have a little bit of a lower ping, basically.
Yeah. I'd say anything below like 70 you can work with.
In OpenArena, not us Americans. It's pretty common for us to play on European servers, and we easily most of the time have 120 plus. I know someone that plays with 170, and it's amazing.
You're East Coast, so like general geographic area.
Yeah, so anyone on the East Coast would ping around, if the closer you are to the East Coast, obviously, but if you generally ping 90 to 120, I would say.
Yeah,
if you're on the West Coast, it would be more of 170.
So the European players, like a lot of Brits, or are there?
It's very mixed. There's Germany, Britain, UK, France, you name it.
I know, like typical like Virginia to England ping is like 95. Like it's right in that.
Yeah,
window.
that would be that would be close to it.
Yeah,
because and the Europeans on our end, we base most of our servers on the East Coast, so it's fair. New York, Buffalo, Atlanta kind of deal.
Yeah, you got to get a Colorado server so us West Coast people can.
I know some people that would love that.
I think that'd be great. I mean, at this point, right? So if you were playing from California to the East Coast, and then from East Coast to Europe, you have essentially the same. Atlantic Ocean's not that big. You have essentially the same delay between the two. But yeah, I think that a lot of games should get more on that. Like, because it seems illogical to have like a server in the middle of the U.S. just because there's less people there. But as Denver grows from the marijuana distribution,
yes,
I think that'll change. And also just the fact that you can play with relatively good 45, 50 ping from California to New York is a huge deal. All right, man. I think I've touched on everything that I really want to cover. So if you have anything last,
I would just
famous last
reiterate back to the fact that if someone's looking for a Quake Live replacement per se, because with all the changes going to Steam, dropping Linux support, Mac support, and things like that, if someone's looking for the Quake Live feel, it's similar, not 100% exact, but give it a shot. Because there's a lot to offer here beyond the base game of OpenArena, and it's found in the mods. And I would say that's the key.
Thanks, man.
Just get to know the mods.
I'm really glad we did this. I've been thinking like for months about like how can I talk like get.
And
get
we're
someone to
all
talk about this
pretty,
game.
for the most part, pretty friendly.
Yeah.
We'll get you set up, tour the mods, learn the CVARs. It's all, if you're familiar with doing a Quake 3 config, it's literal the same thing.
Yeah. But like, yeah, tip to anyone who's like nervous about talking to people and stuff like that, especially online, because people can be assholes.
Yeah.
First of all, OpenArena people are 90% been really cool to me, and maybe 99. So I wouldn't say you're gonna have too many problems in that regard, but just ask. Like, go online and find the top dog. Usually, the admin of the channel is gonna be the nicest person because they're the one who's doing all the footwork, and they're used to talking to people and networking and stuff like that. Don't be scared to reach out to people. I would say is a good sign off for that. You guys are doing good work over there, and I'm really happy that anything that we can do, and in the future, if you guys set up events and you want someone to broadcast or cast it, and there's any way we can help out, let us know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's always a big help.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Alrighty.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. If you want to be involved in the community, go over to our Discord. It's linked at the bottom. If you want to check out articles written by people in our community about more arena first-person shooter stuff, you can go to quakefans.net, and there's all kinds of content, more happening all the time. You can thank Smango, aka Kentucky Nerd, for that. If you want to play in some tournaments, we got that going on. And as always, you can jump over to Slip and UNKiND for State of Quake tournaments and play some of that Quake Champions fun stuff. Anyway, that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. I will see you on the other side. Stay in the keep. Peace.